Hi, and welcome to Project Huntings. My name's Yves. In this episode, we're going to make some built-in seating for my living room. This build is going to be one of those IKEA hack things. Last night, me and my kids put together the IKEA KALLAX bench. It's essentially a bench you can put straight up or on its side. 4 different boxes slide in and out to put stuff in. And then I have some voids on the side where I want to put in power plugs to plug in computers when you're working at the table, and hopefully it'll look good. And step 1 is cutting a whole bunch of plywood. First, I'm going to try and solve a problem with my track saw. This has a good stop that way, but it has no stop this way. So sometimes when it hits a lot of wood, it starts curving out and my cuts get wonky. What I figured out is I have a little piece of wood here that I can use to go in here and keep the track level. So that's what I'm going to try and do now before I make all my cuts. So now I've made 2 little building packages that are going to be the boxes that come on the side of this bench. And you might have seen on my little design here, I'm going to put 2 power plugs in the front. Because I'm working at this dinner table quite a lot with my laptop, and we're always looking for power further up in the wall, and it would be just easy to have that accessible to you. So what I did was found 2 power plug somewhere in this workshop that is going to get demolished soon anyway. So I recuperated these things, is that a word? And we're going to put them in. So in order to do that, we're going to router out a hole in the front panel where this is going to fit in. And then I don't want any visible fasteners in the front of this, so I'm going to drill pocket holes into a few other pieces so we can screw it in from the back and you won't see any of that. Attack. So for anyone who hasn't seen a pocket hole before, it's essentially a hole you drill inside the wood in that direction at an angle, which allows you to put a screw in. And when you push that screw through, it comes out in the middle of the board, and you can screw things in essentially invisibly. So in this case, a plank would go against here, you screw through, and then it's stuck. So in order to figure out how big the hole has to be for this thing, I'm just going to use calipers and measure the back of this. It says that this width is about 53, and the other way is about 40. And then we take a very big drill bit to get the router started. And not use a dull one. Goodbye. Okay, so the boxes are now in place next to the bottom shelf, and now it's time to do the seating area. I just want to make it out of a really big sheet of plywood, but then you're stuck with these very ugly looking edges. So I did some tests, and my plan is to attach a piece of hardwood to the side that I can then round over and sand, and so it's all nice looking. Even though all of this is going to get painted white in the end. So I've cut some strips of this hardwood to the right thickness, and the bench will be a full sheet of plywood and smaller pieces of MDF under it to give it the right thickness. To attach these babies to it, we're going to use dowels on the inside. So I used all these little strips to create the thickness that I want. My idea is to have this be 3 centimeters, which is the height I need to get up to the same level as all the chairs in my living room. So now it's time to put L wood on there. All right, and so we're on the evening of the next day because I kind of forked up. I had tried to drill some holes using my very crappy doweling jig, and the results look like this. So that's not a good solution, so I spent most of the free time I had today looking for materials and making this little jig. The whole idea is that it's a better version of the same dowel jig. On the top you have a good hand grip to hold firmly, place it down on a piece of plywood, push it up to the edge, and then through the little peephole in this aluminium tube goes your drill perfectly perpendicular into the wood and drills the holes you need in them. And so now we can use said fancy jig to drill the holes everywhere in both the hardwood and the plywood and attach all these babies together. So let's do that. So, and then on to step 3, which is going to be the back. I cut out of the same piece of plywood a long strip for the back. And I'm gonna put it under about a 6-degree angle, which is something that felt right. I made a template that is going to be the shape of the back. About 6 degrees felt nice to sit against, so that's what we're gonna make. But first we're gonna clad it. And I'm gonna clad it with strips of oak, followed by a thinner strip of pine, because I couldn't find more oak. And they're gonna go lengthwise across the whole thing, and then hopefully it's gonna look good. So, time for a lot of glue. So I cut all these strips to size and I glued them up next to each other, putting heavy stuff on top of it as I went along because I don't have nearly enough clamps to clamp everything down. So now everything is fully clamped and glued. I literally just made it to the end, the last 2 millimeters, and I put on the last strip, so bonus. So now all of this junk can stay on top of it and it can dry. And now we just need to make the back triangles. So in order to turn these square pieces of plywood into long triangles, I made this little jig thingy. So the idea is you put the square piece on here, it holds it down, and you can run it along the blade and cut it diagonally. So we're on like day 27 of this project. Now it's time to put everything together. Today is the day I finish this thing. I glued the 2 side boxes to the main IKEA cabinet, and I added a few spacers here because I noticed there was a bit of a difference between what IKEA advertised their cabinet size was and the actual cabinet size. So the thing kind of drooped, and now with these spacer thingies on top, it no longer does that. So the next thing is to drill a few pocket holes in the sides, so when the thing goes in my house, I can attach them so nothing slides around. Welcome to the back of my cabinet. The last construction piece, basically, before painting is this little lip. I'm going to add it to the bottom so that all the little boxes that slide in and out don't go fully to the back of the wall, because there's a gap, so that they basically end here. And if you reach under the bench to pull out one of the boxes, then it's always there at the front because it has a stop here. But I'm going to paint it first, along with the rest of the bench, before I assemble it back over at my house. And so now we're in the home stretch. Mostly off camera, I made a top to go on the bench after it's been screwed into the wall. I'm just gonna attach this now real quick. And now begins the incredibly boring task of painting this bench white. But I'm gonna try and do it as fast as I can. Voila, that wasn't too hard. Now I just have to do this 2 more times and then I can go and install it. So I guess I'll see you over at my house. Voila, it's finally done. A built-in seat IKEA hacked with some power down below and a fantastic cushion made by my wife and my lovely mother. My kids are gonna love this. They already liked it when I had an old sauna bench in here for a while, so they're gonna be ecstatic about it. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you like these things I do, then please consider subscribing. There should be a button to do so below. And somewhere off to the side, there should be a whole bunch of other videos all about making stuff. So till next time, thank you. Bye.